Hello, everyone. I must welcome you all to our webinar series, Future You, Set Your Career Compass Right, an Expert's Insight, and I'm Kalyani, your host for today's webinar. So, in today's session, we will be talking about how to build a career in strategy consulting, and we will be talking about some of the key points such as how to become a strategy consultant, what are the roles and responsibilities of a strategy consultant, career progression of our panelists, skill sets suitable for this role, work-life balance in this role, tips to ace any interview, and of course, we'll be talking about a lot more about strategy consulting as well as some life hacks on how to handle pressure. Yeah. All right. So let's welcome our speaker today. We have Ashish Thomas. He's a manager strategy at Deloitte Strategy, and he's an alumnus of IIM Codico. Welcome, Ashish Thomas, and thank you so much for being here today for this session.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So let's start from the beginning. So you did your bachelor's in computer science and then worked with ZS Associates for 2 years and a year at a startup. How and why did you choose to pursue an MBA? And what were your learnings from this journey till your MBA? Like things that you would have liked to do differently or things that you did right and it really worked out for you? Yeah, so can you just take us through that journey?
You're taking me through a nostalgia road, but okay. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean, just going back, right? And this a long question, so it's going to
Mm.
be a long answer.
Okay.
But back in college, so my undergrad was in IT Calicut, and 15 kilometers away, there was IIM Kozhikode. Like that's the premise of the entire story. But there are a few reasons why I decided that perhaps the business side of the world is important. First, the fun reason. Back when I was in the first year, second year, we used to, head out to IIM. Now, IIM Kozhikode, I mean, for those who have seen the photos or, you've been there, like it's a resort, right? And it
Yeah.
also has the highest male to female population also. Like we had 55% girls in the batch.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
as a fresh undergrad, you go there and you see this, like a beautiful campus, and you're like, oh wow, this is life. And coming from an undergrad where it was all boys or mostly boys.
Mm.
So I
Okay.
think that's the first setup. Okay, there is something beyond engineering which could be there.
Mhm.
The second reason which happened was I think around that time, and when I say it's not like 15 years ago, like just like 6 or 7 years
Yeah.
ago, that's what it is. But around that time, we were, the entrepreneurship was becoming a big thing. So we had that entrepreneurship cell which got established. There's this incubator and everything. And uh, for whatever reason, I said, okay, I raised my hands up. I became the president of the entrepreneur council there. And I was like, okay, business cases coming through. We are doing some biz related competitions in the tech fest and everything. So that's the second entry point for me. The third one, when I look at my career, computer science, I think there's two aspects to it, right? One is, the logical solving of a problem. That's the, algorithmic aspect of it. The other part is coding. I sucked at coding, right?
Mhm.
I could really solve a problem and even probably with iterations give you a really good solution. But, for God knows what, I could not code. And
Okay.
that's when I realized, okay, this is not really going to be a career for me. So that was the third point which happened. And finally, in the second year post, that age where you start doing internships. My internship was in IIM Ahmedabad. While it was in a HR division of or the under the professor under the guidance of a HR professor there, I started getting exposed to these cool words like leveraging, synergy, which I had no idea what it meant. But then I said, hey, there could be a life there, and that's how it happened. So back in the final year when companies started coming to campus, we had Morgan Stanley, Google coming through, and ZS came in and said we are business consultants and we do life science consulting. And I'm like, okay, maybe this is the place I want to be. It's a different story altogether. That when you enter, there's a different life there. It's more a analytics company, but the good thing is the value that you gain out of that particular. And if you guys are aiming to be at ZS or are already there as part of your undergrad, I mean, it has such a strong currency in the entire consulting world when you go after your MBA. I think there I learned a lot about, what does it truly mean to think from a business angle? Does it mean to think from a vision of a company? What does it mean to launch a new product, to enter a new geography, and things like that started cropping up. And I said, hey, it's time. Let me think of doing an MBA. Startup which you mentioned, it was somebody I knew whose startup I went into, and they were thinking of going from a word to mouth firm to an actually an e-commerce platform or an online platform. And I started working with them. They started, they were doing sales and marketing, none of which I understood, but slowly those, you see the scaling, small steps that finally directed me to eventually where I reached after 3 years of working. I was at an IM. Now,
Okay. Yeah.
long story, I mean, but the second part of your question was
Yeah, you're learning.
learnings.
Yeah. I mean,
And
if you would like to change anything from this journey, or whatever you did really worked for you or something. Yeah.
I mean, for me, I think the one thing that really worked out for me was, just saying yes to whatever came in, right? So, yeah, it was simply becoming a chairperson for a entrepreneurship cell. I said yes, or it was. I think I've been on your panel for a lot of times, so you have heard all
Yes.
my foreign exchange stories and everything. Just saying
Yeah.
yes on a whim, and then spending 4 months in France. I think that's really worked out a lot. And as we delve into my life in Deloitte, you will realize how that has also transitioned just by me saying yes a lot of times. Uh, could I have done something different? I mean, now that I look at it, now the world is, going all Gen AI and, digital twin. I mean, I should have studied a little more in computer science. But having said that, I'm really happy where I am. I mean, it's exactly what I wanted to do, solve problems, and I get to do that every single day.
Okay, all right. Okay, yeah. So let's talk about your journey within Deloitte. Now that you were talking about how that was also a transition from one level to another. So can you talk about your journey within Deloitte?
Yeah, so during my MBA, and I think people on the call, I mean, you would also know that we have that period where you do an internship. So Deloitte had come to the campus. There's a different story which I'll reserve, which you know about when you're met. But it's another fun story which was there, starting with a pizza and getting placed. But
Yeah.
long story short, I joined Deloitte as an intern. We did an elevator pitch where I said, I can solve anything around life sciences, and they said, okay, let's get in. And I landed in financial services. I'm actually, as a background, my area of expertise is financial services with a focus on payments. So anything and everything you use to make payments comes in my domain, and all the companies that work in it, typically that's where I do my advice. So uh, as strategy as a practice, at least, I mean, there are two things, right? Number one is how you do and how your company supports you. So for me, it was a new field. So it was about just learning everything on the fly. Literally, even today, if you see my calendar, there's an hour and a half just reserved for reading things that happen in financial services. Because I think other day we were talking. A client and I were talking about, what if Trump becomes the president? What should we think about? What's the new change in strategy? We were talking, the last week we were talking about Australia published a new consumer protection rules, and we were thinking about, okay, will the Congress bring it up in US? Will Ireland be thinking about it? Now that's the kind of conversations that we build towards. So for that, my journey was around, just learning learning things around financial services, learning the concepts in there, learning the different branches in there. And a lot of it comes with the work. So the different clients that you cater to, the different types of projects that you do, whether it be market entry or customer segmentation, mergers and acquisitions, which we have helped, which I was involved in. I think you would have read it in the news already. But the things that we do was a big learning curve for me. A firm, the other part of the story is the firm. The firm is extremely supportive. So, I did international stints with the firm right in the first year of my as a consultant. That's the kind of opportunities that I got. Now, my journey is, what you would typically call it a slightly accelerated journey, because I mean, 2 years it took me to become senior consultant. The day I became senior consultant, I said, "Hey, I'm going to crack manager in 2 years." typically it takes 3 to 4 years to become in this firm. And I think the level of client relationship that I was able to handle, a few of my LinkedIn contacts are actually my clients, which we talk about, okay, their children, their reach outs, things that you learn on the job, soft skills
Mm.
that you have to do.
Yeah.
But I think that way, firm was extremely supportive of the progress. So I
Mm.
think 4 years with Deloitte, and it's been really, really good so far.
Okay. Let's talk about the roles and responsibilities of a strategy consultant, irrespective of the company, the firm.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
if I delve into it, like there are a couple of things that we think about. Number one is, really, I mean, you do see the job profile and everything. I mean, we don't really think about that, but truly understanding one is the problem of the client. So you spend time with them, you talk to them. And when I say clients, I mean they're all CXOs, right? You're working with senior VPs and CXOs of the company. So they are like usually, I mean, at least my clients, typically the people I talk to, you will see them in the news, you'll talk to them. So that's one aspect of it, really understanding the problem, which I expect from my consultants and senior consultants is like, you understand the problem, you break it down. The second aspect of it is, you start creating your hypothesis. Like before you even touch pen and paper, you start building hypothesis. So you're generally, even as I do my evaluations, I look at how good your hypotheses were and where it eventually led. Uh, in terms of the other thing is, like as a manager, I do need to think about financial practice as a whole of my own company. So the business development aspect of it, the sales aspect of it, my ability to staff my own people. So staff them on the projects by selling more. So that also comes within my KPIs. So long story short, it's client relationships, it's the business development aspect of it, and then the third part is the networking aspect of it.
Okay, so why would a firm hire a strategy consultant? Why can't they just, try to bring in those solutions from within the employees who are already working within the organizations? Because they might be having more expertise in that particular field, right? Because they've been in that firm for that long, and they have that particular specific skill sets
Right.
for that particular job. So yeah, why hire a strategy consultant?
And in fact, this question is becoming more and more relevant in the age of Gen AI,
Hmm.
when you're getting all the information on your fingertip. But what we typically do, let me build an analogy, right? Like that's how we
Okay.
do it, right? So uh, when I'm talking to a CXO of a company, like, these guys are with 30, 20, 30 years of experience.
Yeah,
They know the forest better than I will ever. At
exactly.
least, when I see 4 or 5 years of my life, I mean, they know the forest much better. They know the trees, they know the herbs, they know the shrubs, everything, right? They know the animals within it. But there are two reasons why you would take a strategy consultant. One, you know, hey, I'm in the forest. Where do I go next? Right? Or two, hey, I'm in the forest. I want to go to the nearest McDonald's. Just bear with me, right? Now, the one way to do this is, which you see in the movies, right? You climb the tree, you go on the top, and you try to see where you are. I'm the guy who has a drone. I can actually see the entire forest, right? Because I work with clients, with multiple clients in the same domain. So you take, a couple of banks, I've worked with them. You take a couple of networks, I've worked with them. So I do see not just the forest, but the environment around. So if I were to break down now into a little more business sense, there are two reasons why companies come to us. Number one is, to ask us for the advice, guidance. What is the next step? How do I make my shareholder happy? That's the first thing which is there in your CFO's mind. How do I improve my margins? CFO is talking about it, right? How do I get more customers? That's the CMO talking about it. That is where a lot of our visioning, ambitioning of the project, and from there you think about, do you launch a new product, you enter a new geography, do you do an inorganic growth and do an acquisition in a country, right? So all of this stands there. The second one is validation. Now that's, I mean, and if I were to do that, like 30 or 40% of our projects are where we do next steps. 60% of it, because these guys know it, right? They know their stuff. So the moment they say, hey, I want to enter Sri Lanka, Everybody in the board is like, no, like, wait, I have a Deloitte or a McKinsey or a BCG consultant who also says, right? It's like that Zomato mein wo 5-star rating milta hai, and you're like, oh, you know what, babe, let's go. Aisa wala jo you do with your wife. I mean, this is a great. So that's the validation part of it. So one is really understanding what the next steps are. Second one is, really validating my claim or his claim or her claim they have made, and I'm validating their claim. Yes, that's the next one. And that's why, and that's the two reasons why you will ever take a strategy consultant. We limit ourselves to the ideation. So, I mean, just for your information, there are ops consultants, your tech consultants, right? So we don't, once we have done with our advice, I mean, there are a bunch of other consultants who will do take it forward, right? But we restrict ourselves to the advice part of it. So one and two, either validating it or, giving you new ideas.
Okay. Now there's a question about what's the difference between business analyst and junior associate. So yeah, so this is something now, even like in the last session when I was covering PGDBA, the business analytics program from IIM Calcutta, offered by IIM Calcutta. So they were also talking about that, like, if a business analyst who has a better understanding of data can actually churn out solutions as well, then why to have a consultant or a junior associate or senior associate? Yeah, so first you can take this question and then yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, these are different terminologies. Like, I mean, somebody who is managing cabs, we call them fleet operators, right? Like, I mean, it would just be like 5 cabs. It's just like fancy titles you give. McKinsey calls it junior associate. My company calls it analyst. I mean, I think PwC and others, they have a different terminology for it. It's all the same. In your mind, the way you think about it as follows. If you're joining a strategy consulting or a management consulting firm, before you have done your MBA, you typically start as an analyst or an associate. Your work would involve a lot around data crunching. Your work would, involve a lot of, presentation building, all the shenanigans around Excel and all of that thing, like any tool that you're using for, analyzing your data. Once you join after MBA, I mean, the world doesn't change. Like, it's not like those 2 years have suddenly made you a guru of anything. No, let me just be clear about it. And we have talked about in our other panel sessions also. But what the transition that happens is now we are no longer interested, like from you, when I think from my consultant, senior consultant, you're not interested in just giving me, okay, here are 15 data points. Give me insights. What does that data really mean? And that is where typically after you do your B school, after you've done some strategy courses, after you've done some financial courses, you start taking that 15 data points and trying to build a story around. Right. That's the consultant level. I mean, you can call it an associate in other firms or consultant in some firms. Then you go to the next level, which is senior consultant. I think PwC, I think, has something like manager already, or some other post which starts there. So it's all difference of posts. Typically in a like a management consultant, there are like 5 or 6 levels. The first level is reserved for pre-MBA. The next 5 levels are post-MBA. So you become the next level for a consultant to a senior consultant. Then you have a manager. So manager in Deloitte is equivalent to the manager in McKinsey, but it is a director in EY, right? Okay. Right. So that's I think.
So normally, if you can tell us the how the from entry level to senior level, how you normally, how's the trajectory like as a strategy consultant?
Yeah, so that also varies from firm to firm, but here's the thumb rule, right? You might become a partner in McKinsey in 10 years, you will take, 13 years to become in Deloitte. But if you were to now start comparing the true pay scales, it's actually going to be very similar, because a director in McKinsey will just take the revenue from the strategy projects they sell. The director in Deloitte is now going to take from the 1 lakh employees which are there. So that share completely changes, right? So uh, the story is simple. There are 5 to 6 levels varying from firm to firm. The first level usually takes 2 years. After that, just add a year. The next level is going to be 3. The next level is going to be 4. And then after senior manager or equivalent levels, I mean, it's, the quintessential politics come into play, or, how well you are able to sell. And that trajectory could, ranges from 2 to 3 years in McKinsey to 3 to 4 years in Deloitte, and over 5 years in other companies. But I hope that and now you do 2 plus 3, you normal progression
Mhm.
kar lo, or it will come to like 10 to 13 years, because even directors
Okay.
have different levels. So
Okay.
13, 14 years in each company.
Okay, okay. What is the growth opportunity in strategy consultant? So is it like similar to what it is with a management consultant? And
So
finally, is it like the highest thing you can actually think of in a as a consultant in a company is to make partner? Is that how it is? Like that's the
okay, so I think you've asked 2, 3 questions. So let me break it
yeah.
down, right?
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, when you talk about management consulting, so think of strategy consultants as the first leg in the door, right? Like the first conversations are typically done by strategy consultants. You're talking about an idea. Usually, when I say let's do an M&A, my colleagues in M&A, I will introduce them. They will do acquisition for them. I'll be like those Bhishma Pitama ki हाँ हमने idea दिया था, so I'll be that figure. One of my projects now has transitioned into a transformation project. They're doing entire operations, global operations. So there's an operation management consultants, who are there, who are going to, figure out the timelines, do some stakeholder management, all of that, right? Another client of mine, they were thinking of how do you improve your supply chain. I don't necessarily work in that field. I was consulted there. So they are now entirely into supply chain consulting, right? So there's a lot of different consultants within the realm of management consulting. This is again different from the technology consultants. So there's the business terms, there's technology. Now, your second question was what are the what are the growth opportunities, right? So typically, there is that convergence, that ops, supply chain, everything. You typically start converging towards strategy because eventually that's what the client is going to talk about, right? They are not saying कि अच्छा मुझे बताओ क्या करना है, right? That's the prelim thing. So if you remain in consulting within that 13, 14 years or 10 years, wherever you are, you will become a partner. At a partner level, you are like having your own startup with your different layers of people. You are selling business. You're going to get revenue from you're having a salary. You're getting going to revenue from the X% from the business. That's the deal there. The other place where we typically get hired a lot is, office of the CEOs, right? Where again there's a lot of strategy roles. Now I'm not just talking about startups with P&L negative. Like even big companies have office of the CEOs where you're directly working with that group, where you're discussing again a strategy with it. Like companies like Barclays have a global strategy team where folks like us get recruited. I'm again talking from a financial services point. The third place, and again, an area where I do a lot of like advice is private equity firms. Now, VCs are not interested in us. Like they typically take someone more junior than us because they have to, drill into the entire the financial modeling and all of that goes in. But PEs are interested in us because the recent couple of the largest PE firms in the world, which I was consulting with, like they are interested in okay, hey, this is what I have. Where do I now invest next? Which is the next company that I think about buying out, right? Should I start diversifying myself? These are companies that are more diversified. VCs are more uh, in a single vertical or maybe a couple of verticals. So three exit options: one, become a partner and become the your own startup kind of thing where you're going to get revenues. Second is office of the CEOs or global strategy teams. The third one is P's where we get hired.
Okay.
Of course,
Mm.
you get hired like if people remain in consulting, you will see like like the company changing from Deloitte to McKinsey to Bain to Deloitte to McKinsey to Bain. वो एक circle चलता रहेगा. So people who stick around, they switch around with the consulting companies.
Okay, there is a question about how can a person use 2 year experience in oil and gas company in consulting?
Yeah, so there is the industry vertical energy resources practice. So it's the and industrial. So ER and I practice. I think if you're somebody who has, and I'm assuming in the oil and gas operations, I mean, you would have probably different jobs that I know. You would have probably spent on an oil field somewhere, or you would be in the middle of the ocean. You've done engineering there, or you have just been in the marketing or service lines of it. It's a good experience, right? You can start developing into it. Like when you join as a consultant in any of these companies, industry knowledge really helps. So if you've not just spent your time, shifting control C, control V in Excel or just listening to what your boss has said and finishing the job, but you're actually spent time learning about the industry, right?
Correct.
oil and gas. If I think the eminence paper that we were writing the other time, like how does the price of oil and gas impact, let's say, or rather, I would say one of the questions that you can think of answering is why is U.S. renewable energy getting replaced by China today? Right now, China as a country is investing a lot there. Or if you talk about resources or minerals, if you want to go in there, why does the collapse of Brazil going to impact the entire phosphorus market? Like questions like these, if you spend
Okay.
time learning these or investigating these,
Correct.
yes, it's going to help in your journey.
Right. Okay. Okay. There's a question about how did you research? Yeah, so you have to go back. How did you research around before college and after college about your niche in this direction? How did you find people to mentor you in this particular area? So yeah, so maybe yeah, you have to go back further back to making that decision. Of course, no, with I am Kodikor, and then yeah, how did consulting happen?
Okay.
Yeah, and there is also a question about how did you crack the interview for being a consultant at interview? So that's your pizza story, I believe. So yeah, you can also tell that to here as well on this.
If we have, I think if we have time, I'll go into that story. Or you guys
Yeah.
can connect me offline on LinkedIn, and
Okay.
I think you have heard
Okay.
it like 5 times now already.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
here's the thing, right? Number one is being a consultant before, or rather an analyst, or my title was associate when I was in CS. Being in that data and analytics domain really helps you and your profile when you enter. I think I was, the quintessential hot list jo bolte hain. I mean, we were, I and my other friends who were from the similar background, we were always in hot lists of all these companies. That's one, right? If you're asking me how did I decide being in finance, I did not. It was just by luck. I entered during my internship. My first boss worked in financial services, and I just loved it. Honestly, the first project was very simple, but what I realized is payments. And if you think about it from the 4 years, right? UPI 4 years back, I mean, you were able to maybe pay an electricity bill. I'm not sure. Now they're talking about, enabling payments to Singapore. They're talking about
Yes.
micro loans over it. You're talking about offline. There's so much that changes. Now we have crypto based credit cards from MasterCard, right? There's so much that changes in a particular industry. And when I evaluated it, I said, hey, this seems to be cutting edge for me, right? uh, every industry has its own journey, its own story, and its own cutting edge research which is happening. But for me, that is how I said, how do I stay relevant? Maybe payments is the thing that will make me stay relevant. So that was my evaluation parameter. Did not happen in college. Happened post joining the firm.
Correct. Yeah. While you were working, you understood the
Huh,
yeah
I
lay
mean,
of the land. Yeah.
yeah, very rarely. I mean, honestly, unless you have joined MBA with a particular mindset, like I think in my other story that I really didn't want to join consulting. I wanted to join marketing or finance or
Yeah.
something, and then it just happened, and I'm very happy about it. But you really don't have any idea. It's like that 10th standard पूछते हैं ना बेटा क्या बनना है करके वो MBA में भी यही question रहता है क्या करना है nobody knows. Very few people, maybe a person, 1% of my batch or 2% of my batch really knew, okay, I want to do IB, I want to do marketing, I want to do HR. But rest of us were very clueless. So it's okay. It's okay to be clueless. Just
Okay.
just
Yeah.
jump in, be a sponge, and learn something.
And also, attendees, you guys can watch our the B School Insider sessions with Ian Korikor. Yeah, Ashish has been there as a panelist for the past 3 sessions of B School Insider. So he has talked about his Ian Korikor background and how the placements happened and everything. So yeah, you can listen to him in those sessions. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the skill sets. What are the kind of skills one must have or is suitable to become a strategy consultant? And uh, you were talking about soft skills as well, like negotiation, people skill, and all that. And also, if you can tell us how to develop those skills if you don't have those.
Got it.
So first, hardcore skills, then
Hmm.
soft skills, three maybe hard skills that you need, three soft skills, and then yeah, tips to improve or develop.
I'm trying to structure this, but let me think about hard skills, right? So
Yeah.
I would say there are three things, okay? And you'll keep hearing these three. This is the three, four is what we talk about. But number one is, how do you collect? Right? And collection could be data collection. It could be around opinion collection. It could be around those kind of focus groups, interviews. Knowledge collection, which is there, right? Now, there's no necessary hard skill that you have. Like there are enough people in the firm who are going to do that for you. But I think in terms of knowledge, you really, really need to be well read about what you're doing. Uh, it's it's all right to be an average consultant, but it's very hard for an average consultant to grow. So you have to spend time, and like people around me, I mean, especially if you're joining after a B school, everybody is from IIM X, some letter of an IIM, right? Everybody is on steroids. So everybody is spending time reading, learning, and doing what they have to, right? So, and sometimes it's on the job, sometimes you're reading, sometimes you're correlating. So that's one part of the collection aspect of it. No hard skill required. Second one is analyzing, right? Now, analyzing, the simplest tool which comes in my mind is Excel, right? So you really, really need to be adept at it because, suddenly you are spending time regressions, right? You're talking with the clients like, hey, you know what, I want to grow my stock price by, say 5% in the next 1 year. And you're looking at the beta of the company, you're doing financial modeling, you are, actually doing valuations, and all of that happens in Excel, right? So, or you can do in Excel. If you know other analytics tool, it's a plus. But at the bare minimum, you really need to know Excel really well, right? The third part is visualizing. So collecting, analyzing, now visualizing, right? Now, simplest tool of visualizing is PowerPoint, right? Again, every company has its own so-called format, font, and all of that thing, but there's an art of creating clean slides, right? How do you say more without showing more on the screen? How do you make it very visual? That is going to take some time. A lot of things you learn on the job. But for me, because I was doing it from ZS, because I spent a lot of time, and again, in that B School Insider videos, you'll see I used to spend most of the time doing competitions. You learn, you do acquire that skill of PowerPoint. So when I started in Deloitte, I mean, obviously they had their own so-called Deloitte way, which is McKinsey way, PwC way, whatever it is. But already had the knack of how to build these things, right? So if you can, I mean, you have time. I would, if you want to prioritize, I think you should prioritize on developing the knowledge in your field. I think somebody wrote about civil, I mean, construction. You should spend time on it. I mean, recently we were working with Middle East clients, and I mean, I think you guys are reading about the economic conference which is happening in Davos, the next one which is going to happen in Qatar. The largest sovereign funds are there, so there's a lot of consulting projects there, a lot of construction projects, construction related consulting projects. They're creating that ring. When I was in Dubai last year, we were talking about that ring and everything. So yes, so knowledge is the first one. The second one is, I think you should spend time in analyzing the data. So learn a analytics tool, really good for you. If not consulting, it gets used everywhere. PowerPoint and everything. If you have time, do it. But I mean, again, you can't do everything. So don't be a jack of all trades. Be expert. Be an
Yeah.
expert in something.
Correct, correct. So tell me something. So it sounds like, when I'm talking to someone who's in management consulting, it's a very very hectic work schedule, even when they have become managers or in the upper management. But the thing is, like, so is it with Deloitte that there's a better work life balance, or is it being a strategy consultant is what is making a better work life balance for you?
No, I mean, answer to both of them are no. It's not
Okay.
Deloitte which gives me the work-life balance. It's not the strategy consulting that gives me work-life balance. It's the
Okay.
choices that you make, right?
Mm.
So I have managers who are actually spending 13, 14 hours a day, right?
Okay.
Also, because again, that fungible time that I have taken
Mm.
can be spent into, business development. can be spent into writing eminence papers, right?
Okay.
I mean, I know in the towards the end of the section, I will tell you what I do with my time.
Correct.
That in that pace, because all the markets are open at that time. That's where my interest lies.
Okay.
But it's truly the choices that you make, the amount of work that you want to do. That's the good thing, right? All managers have some kind of goals that you have to meet in terms of business selling, in terms of staffing your practice, in terms of growing the practice. If you're meeting those, if you're exceeding your expectation, those, because hikes are important. So once I meet those, whatever it category of exceed expectations or whatever that is, then I try to then take the time for myself. uh, you know, that's a very strange and a hard balance to make, because uh, consulting is a people's game, right? So when you say no to someone, I mean, you will also get a no back, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
how do you manage expectations? How do you, ensure that you still are the limelight, but at the same time you get time for yourself? So long story short, as a consultant, I spent a lot of time. I spent 14 hours upwards, like just working, learning, and then progressively I learned the art of, uh, giving a little more fuck about myself, for a better
Okay.
word. So
Okay.
that's how I then started spending little time for myself. And I learned from my bosses. And it also depends on how good your bosses are. If you
Okay.
have, like, luckily my boss gives me a lot of my own time, lets me think through my day, not at all micromanaging. So I get to
Yeah.
drive the entire client relationship and everything. But I know about bosses who are very over micromanagers.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
they are there
Yeah.
every single
So.
hour. Uh, you know, so it's truly the choice that you make.
Okay. Okay. As a strategy consultant, do you have to take, are there like, are you working on multiple projects at the same time? Or is it like those 12 weeks or 8 weeks you're working on that one project and then move to the next one? How does it work?
Uh, Again, this varies from company to company, but
Okay.
I think I can speak for my friends in McKinsey, Bain, BCG, Deloitte, EY, not PwC, Accenture Strategy also. We typically have only one project at one time, right?
Okay.
I'm only catering to one client problem at a single time.
Okay.
However, along with this, I'm also expected to sell my next project, right?
Okay.
So I do talk to the next client about, okay, here's what, here's how we can help you, or whatever that is. So that's a part of business development. But the core problem is only with one client. It's really hard. I mean, in 6 weeks' time, if you're asking me to solve three problems, it's just not possible. I can help you do some business development. I can talk to the next director over there, and probably help you set myself up for the next project. But I can't really solve your problem in the same time. It's just not possible.
Correct.
6 weeks is one person.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's talk about the other bits about how to handle pressure, how to balance your life. So our attendees obviously they are they have been preparing. Some of them would be preparing for CAT 24, and then some are preparing for the CAT 23 students. They have been preparing for the GDPI and deciding where to go and all that. Some of them are probably having work balancing between working and preparing for CAT. So I believe that this whole work life balance works for everybody, even if you're a student. You know how to manage your time and get the most out of it without being all stressed. So yeah, so can you give us tips on that? And then of course, three books uh, that you would like us to read, recommend our attendees to read.
Yeah. So let me give you a nugget about IIMs or broader MBAs, right? You can be great at quants, verbals, LRs, and DI, score 100 percentile, and still you won't make it to an IIM, right? They don't just take it from a score perspective, they are opting on a personality. My classmates and really great people that I have studied with, like, few of them, one of them was a bartender. She brought in bartending experience, right? I mean, as simple. One of them was playing cricket for the national team. I mean, no, national team, yes, playing for the national side. A couple of them were entrepreneurs, right? A couple of them have represented India in Asian Games. A few of them were math Olympiads, right?
Okay.
Or you pick up one student in an IIM, they would have one thing that they can brag about, which is beyond academics. Because all of us are, I mean, the very reason like you see that percentile 99 point something to start hone wala hai. So you've already established that in that time pressure of 3 hours you are able to score that much, right? So acads is really not what people are interested. Like you say that I'm a 99% in 10 standard, I mean, okay, great. I mean, even a 90% will also make it, right? But it's truly about that personality that you bring in. So if you're asking what to do, one, uh, have something that you do that is beyond work, right? So there are, I mean, if you want my experience about it, there are three things that I typically do. I love traveling. I have a goal of 100 countries before I turn 50. I'm like at 33 right now. I do spend at least twice or thrice a year. I make a point to travel internationally and experience a new culture or a new area or something. I mean, I think last month we went bungee jumping because my wife was wanted to try that, right? The last I mean I think in December we were on a cruise, so we try to do these things because these are now experiences that you can talk as stories. It's the talking. The I think somebody has asked about soft skill. One of the soft skill in strategy consulting is about how do you tell a story, the art of telling a story, right? The second thing which I really love doing is I love to cook. Back in the day before the pandemic happened, before people were everybody became a chef, I used to have an Instagram page where I used to do plating, the art of plating, right? The third thing which I did promise you, what I typically do in that hours which in between is I actually spend a lot of time in stock markets, right? uh, I think fairly soon, if you all are interested in stock markets, you'll fairly soon see, some of my videos coming up in the area of valuations. So really understanding what does it mean if whether you should buy a stock, not just thinking about from a momentum perspective, अच्छा किसने बोल दिया, but really understanding what does the company do. Bring all that MBA knowledge into a very structured setup, right? So that's what I spend time doing. Like last 8 years, I've been doing stock markets. So the middle 3 4 hours of the day, I'm on the markets, right? So have that hobby, have that something else that you need to do. The second one is you usually get into that pressure zone is because you are facing an unknown. Like you get a hard question, you get a hard topic to read. Just spend time reading about it, right? It's not. I mean, again, I don't have like a lot of. I know you have talked about favorite books and everything. I mean, I can just name them. Like my favorite author is a fiction author, who is David Baldacci. But I can tell you, you can read Malcolm Gladwell. You can read books like Who Took My Free Lunch. But take something that is in your area of interest, which is truly your area of interest, because consulting can actually, I mean, I know somebody said, hey, I'm working in this particular field, but is this the field you want to work in? If not, consulting is there for all the fields. Strategy consulting is there in all fields. Pick a field that you're interested in. Even if you don't have experience, you can, like, I didn't have experience in financial services and here I am, right? So truly it's about that. So pressure, have something beyond work. That's that work pressure, that pressure cooker which is there. The pressure of not knowing the known or facing the unknown unknowns. I mean, you just have to read, you just have to listen to new things, experience new things. I think that should do the ticket for you. Right. Okay. Okay. What are your tips to ace interviews? I think, yeah, also as an ace interviews in the sense, if you can tell us about how do you face, I mean, like if you can give us tips on how to face any interview successfully in the sense, like, you are not, it's not just about the placements, it's not just about the B school interview, but generally, like, what kind of a mindset and how do you prepare yourself with that kind of a mindset that you're, yeah, you can put your best version when you're sitting there and not, like thinking too much. Yeah, yeah. Tips to ace interviews. That's the question. Right. I mean, interviews or client conversations, all of that come with the similar kind of, for a better word, pressure. But, everything is I mean, more or less comes in the same zone. Uh, Typically, the way I do is one is practice. Now, if you were talking about, doing some of these, if you want to crack any of the strategy consulting firms, you're going to do case studies, guesstimates, right? You
Okay.
need to practice, you need to, anticipate what is going to get asked. That's one. Second is know yourself well, right? I mean, a lot of people can tell me that, you are working in so and so division, you are working in so and so role. What does your company do? What is the broader picture of the company? What is it thinking from a 5 year horizon, right? Or rather, even in your own life, I mean, if you have a hobby, if photography is your skill, do you really know about all the things around photography? What exact photography?
Correct.
Are you into micro photography? Are you into macro photography, right? You just like to take street photographs. Know yourself, explore yourself. I think that is going to take care of all those quintessential HR questions, your strengths, weaknesses about yourself, all of that. When it comes to technical part, I think I've said it more than enough number of times. Knowledge is the only thing which is going to take you forward. So if you know the kind of interview you have, if you know who the person, and I think the other part is really knowing who the interviewer is. In our job interviews, we do get to know LinkedIn से पता चल जाता है कौन दे रहा है because panel का नाम है. In IM interviews, maybe you don't know it. Take some time understanding what they do. Ask those questions, right? At the end of the day, when it comes to consulting, when it comes to interview, it's about people. You are a person, the person in front of you is also a person. And both of you have the same struggles in life. So it's not like, oh, they have like suddenly they are the Thor with a big hammer, right? Just don't change the levels of the game when you start interviewing. Have a conversation. Always have a conversation. Don't be restricted to I want to answer these 5 questions. Have a conversation. I hope that helps. I know it's a long answer,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
happy to chat offline with any of you if
Yeah,
you.
yeah, sure. So, also, there's a question about if you can just tell us a little bit more about soft skills and how to get soft skills on CV. As in, somebody who would like you to answer a little bit more about, the kind of soft skills one require, other than maybe, the person wants you to go deeper into soft skills and how to get soft skills on CV. How do you reflect?
Yeah, so I do interviews in IIM these days for my own division, for my own practice. I don't care about soft skills in what is written in the CV, right? Like, I mean, you can write you are a team player, I mean, or you are a leader, or you have whatever. I mean, it really matters nothing to me, right? How do I evaluate is a better question, right?
Okay.
There are 2 3 things that you need to remember from a people or a soft skill perspective. One is, how do you talk to people? When we are on an interview, your attitude which comes to it, your willingness to solve problems, your willingness to answer certain questions. There's some hard questions. How do you navigate through it? So that's all around that people management aspect of it. How do you gain it? Spend time with your friends. Spend time with getting to know new people. I mean, usually what we do is we go into that one group of 5 friends and wahi reh jate hain. It's like a friend central park coffee shop. Right? Let's not do
Yeah.
that, right? Get to know more people. I mean, if there's somebody you have not talked to for the entire year of your work, just walk up there and start getting to know them. What you'll realize is you'll start asking certain questions which will now become a part of your life. So that's one. The second one, from a soft skill perspective, is structuring your thoughts, right? Now, again, as somebody who spent 4 5 years in consulting, I still am struggling to structure my thoughts. Right, I usually start with this 1 2 3, and you'll see my answers varying from 1 2 3 to maybe some long answers also coming through. Right, but by the time you become partner, I mean that's exactly what you see. Right, how do you structure your thought? Because my question will be on guesstimate. My question will be on an industry. You are able to structure it properly. Probably it might be about the tennis game that you're playing, and you tell me who is your favorite F1 driver. Break it down for me. Like, what is that evaluation parameter do you have, and now why do you feel that this person is really good? Right? What is that historical, performance? You break it down 1 2 3, 1 2 3. So no matter whatever conversation that you're having with your wife, with your girlfriend, with your parents, with your colleagues, right? See if you can bring that structure in play. That's the second important thing. So people management, that's going to open the entire networking zone, getting to know new people, getting to talk to new people. The second part of it is structuring your thoughts. If you have these two, you're set up for success. Rest all is going to come from how you do in the job and everything. Your performance also matters, but at least you are sorted this way.
Yeah, right. Okay, tell me something. How relevant is the B school, the MBA, for consulting career? How crucial is it?
Uh, I think if you think about soft skills, very relevant. You would, I mean, no matter how much you have done different kinds of work, I mean, where you're working, you'll meet very homogeneous set of people. Everybody is an IT engineer there, right? Or everybody is in marketing, similar backgrounds. MBA is that one place where you're going to meet people with so much diverse background. You're going to spend time getting to know them. That's where the people management aspect of it begins. The courses in our curriculum around strategy, finance, marketing is more like they'll help you understand. Like if the beginning of the session I said I heard the words like leveraging, synergy. Now I can explain it. Okay, great. I mean these are like still the not the word that I use in the daily life, but now you start understanding it. Soft skills for sure. MBA is good. Uh, some of these skills
Placements
around.
as well, I think. Right. That's
Huh,
the
so the
very crucial one.
other thing that MBA does for you, and again, don't do MBA just for an MBA, right? Like, do it from a, you are doing MBA in your mind. There are two reasons why you're doing an MBA. One is you're getting a branding. A branding matters. It's unfortunate. It's because there are a lot of brilliant people around us, but the moment you brand yourself, like there's a lot of different uh, token that you get in the entire realm, right? That's there. A lot of companies do not hire outside these brands. It's unfortunate, but it is what the reality, harsh reality of life. Second one is to really network, really get to know new people because your classmates, I mean, my classmates in next 10 years hopefully would be at such senior positions, like they can open really new doors for you. Our entire placement after we leave college, the next set of placements that we do are entirely through our alum network, whether it's an IM Curicode alum network or it's a Pan IM alum network. But once you say, hey, I'm from your college, I mean, even when somebody comes and says, my juniors, when they come and say, I'm from your college, hey, come. I mean, I'll give you five more Gyan tips in your life, which I would not have done for somebody else. That's that camaraderie which starts up, right? That's why MBA is important. But so these are the things. If you feel these are the things which value, do an MBA. If you feel no, I can gain these skills elsewhere, it's completely okay. It's a MBA just like a shortcut. वो ladder होता है ना snake and ladder.
Correct. Yeah. Can a person with only work experience get in consulting or strategy?
Only with work experience get into strategy consulting. The answer is yes. Now it
No, so
depends
if
where.
somebody is a fresher, then no, they are usually not hired, is it? Like even in MBA, even after an MBA for the placements when they are coming, are they hiring? Are they preferring people with some kind of work experience prior?
Okay, let me break it down this down for you. So if you're coming fresh from your undergrad, right, you would can expect to join as an associate or an analyst, like the way I did at CS, right? Even in Deloitte, even in McKinsey, the Bain Capability Network. So you may not really be working in the strategy division, but you would be associated, and usually these all our firms typically give you grants to do your MBAs, right? You will so that you come back. So all of that is there. The thing is there. Second one is the moment you do your MBA or you have been working, let's say, for 3 or 4 years, is your route to joining a strategy consulting easy? No, not at all. Now we are going to, if you want to join strategy consulting and even join as a consultant, you need 7 or 8 years of experience. 10 years of experience. Like I know people who have worked in Nestle for 10 years and then they joined as a consultant in Deloitte, right? And I may have just completed my seventh or eighth year, right? Within the consulting domain because consulting gives a lot of emphasis on homegrown. So either it has to be homegrown or experts. So there is no in between. So that's the reason why either you join the race early or you spend enough time to get really good at what you do, and then you can again join in. So then we start hiring at if you're coming from expertise like specialist masters, leaders that we can take. So you're talking about 10 years, 14, 15 years of experience. But again, they are not getting hired as a partner. People who at all get hired as a partner are like, I think one of my partners who got hired from outside and 20, 25 years of experience with like 6 patents in his name, 3 startups, and now he started at the entry level of a partner because it's just important. I mean, the thing is, home. the experience or the skill that you get by talking to clients, it's not replicable. Other industries don't have this kind of same setup. So if even if I want to hire you as a manager because of your experience, can I put you in front of a client? And if you fail, I'm losing the business.
Correct.
You need to go through that grill to learn everything. I hope that answers.
Yeah. Okay, Ravi, what about, okay, there is a question about, well, if you have faced FOMO in your life at MBA and post MBA, have you,
Yeah,
what were you missing out?
uh, FOMO in life. No, I do feel sometimes like if I look at McKinsey, Bain, usually the top tier consulting firms which are there, they do a lot of travel, right? They're
Okay.
traveling from one client to another client. And I was like, hey, you know what? I'm serving Australia, I'm serving Europe. I can't do like travel every month. They're traveling every week. So every time I find a FOMO, you remember the one thing I said, I try to find opportunities to say yes. I
Correct.
started doing
Yeah.
co-location. So every month I do that travel, earn Marriott Bonvoy points,
Yeah.
then which pays for my holidays.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
that. I mean, now I'm having a major FOMO, which at the moment is when I see a lot of these product managers who are into
Oh,
the AI
yes.
field as the world is transitioning into AI. I have to put a lot more effort to really understand it because clients come and say, hey, you know what? AI is cool. Now you tell me I have 100 million to invest. Can I do it? And I just need to know these answers. So uh, like I wish I had learned a little more in computer science. थोड़ा coding कर लेता तो हो जाता. But again, long story
Yeah.
short, it's a cyclical thing. Right now, there's a lot in the technology field. 2000s, the bubble burst. Then financial services came up. 2008 bubble burst. It's going to happen. So
Yeah.
supply chain in 2016. So no matter which field you are going to go up and come down. It's fine. You're
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, okay. Before we wrap up, any particular tips for our attendees? Anything? Life mantra?
Just ये वो एकदम बहुत जनरल ज्ञान हो गया बट यार honestly the way I think about it is do what you like. I mean, at the end of 10 hours after your
But they
work,
definitely, nobody really enjoys cat prep, right? I mean, everybody else is playing outside. So, how do you keep yourself focused about that? Okay, I am uh, doing this because I have to take cat and I have to get this percentile so that I can get into that B school, so that I can have a
like,
that end game needs to be somewhere, some point, right?
yeah, so that's exactly what I'm saying. Do what you like. The reason is don't follow the crowd just because everybody is cracking an IM like you're heading there. There's a lot of different things you can do. That's okay. Just do what you like. Life does not magically change the moment you enter IIM, right? You are not becoming a wizard suddenly. Your life after you have to live another 50 years of your life after that. Just becoming a consultant because today Ashish said strategy consulting is cool. Yes, it is cool.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm happy. I do what I enjoy. Like, but every day when you wake up, if you don't feel like doing what you're doing, question yourself. It's all I'm saying. Like, and it's a very natural thing. I'm sure like the person I am, another 2 years down, I'm going to ask this question to myself. I'm asking this question right now, which is why I'm doing that YouTube thing.
Correct.
Right now,
Yeah.
I'm asking, hey, is this more interesting? Okay, let me launch a YouTube channel.
Mhm.
So this question keeps coming up. Ask yourself if that does not make you happy, leave it. If it makes you happy, go ahead. If you and to your question, yes, IIM is a very very good way to hack or to advance in life. If that is what that passion is, what is driving you, if that's what you really want to go through, yes, you have to study. वो कैट ऐसे ही नहीं निकलेगा उसके लिए पढ़ाई
Yeah.
करना पड़ेगा you have to get to 99 percentile. Is that the population of the country is there?
Yeah. Okay, last question. Will AI decrease the importance of consulting?
Oh, I covered that. I think no.
No.
I mean, so if you remember, collection,
Because it's still
analyze.
people. You're still
Yeah,
dealing with people.
yeah, collection,
Clients are
analyze,
also people.
visualize.
Yeah,
You can
correct.
you can use AI to do all of it, but what you can't do
Mm.
is really generate the kind of insights that you need a human for, right?
Yeah.
Like for example, even just as a simple example, right? I am running. If you guys understand valuations and DCF valuation, comparable valuations, I have a model right now which runs it for every company. if you ask me, if you ask my model, they will say invest in this, but that final investment is on me, right? That is, there is a human element. You can argue saying algo trader hota hai Ashish, इससे profit आता है, but ठीक है, I mean, there are things like that. But companies typically, or even CXOs, their job is, if the stakeholders are unhappy, shareholders are unhappy, I mean, their job is going for a toss. They are going to ask for that human element. I think McKinsey has published a paper on a similar topic on AI, whether AI will replace consulting. Not at the moment. Not at least in the next few years when you are going to be consultants in the future.
Yeah.
In 10 years, you might have to really work hard. I mean, if you have to be a robot, you have to be a robot. I mean, I'm talking about today.
Yeah.
And maybe next few years.
All right. Okay. That's all the time we have for this session. Yeah. So thank you all the attendees, and thank you Ashish Thomas. Thank you so much for all the insights and yeah, Gyan that you gave us. Thank you.
All right. Had a good time. Thank you all. Thank you for inviting again.